Hi, I'm Lydia Malama Johnson. I am the Executive Director of AIPAD, and I am very excited to welcome you to today's talk. This is part of our AIPAD Talk series, Depth of Field, where we turn the lens onto our member galleries and the artists they're currently presented and the projects they're really excited about. Today, we welcome Douglas Marshall of Marshall Gallery in Los Angeles and the incredible duo of Angel Albarrán and Ana Cabrera, artistically known, of course, as Albarrán Cabrera. We're looking forward to the Marshall Gallery's presentation at the photography show coming up in April. So I hope everybody has marked their calendars, April 22nd through the 26th at the Park Avenue Armory. I'll give a little intro about the Marshall Gallery as an APAD member, and of course, Douglas. And then I will hand it over to Douglas and to our panelists today to speak more about their practice and the current exhibition on. Founded in 2018, Marshall Gallery showcases contemporary photo-based artists with an emphasis on experimental processes, printmaking craftsmanship, and conceptual innovation. Douglas is a treasured board member of APAD, one of our 13 board members who help us in the make sure that everything runs as needs to be and is a big voice for us on our education committee, which of course leads the Depth of Field talk series. So thrilled to finally have Douglas on one of these. Today's conversation will last about 45 minutes, and then we'll be opened up to questions. We like to have a robust question and answer session, so please, please, please add your questions in the chat throughout the conversation, and they will be answered in this segment at the end. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Douglas, and thank you all so much for joining us today. I know this is one that our viewers are incredibly excited about.
Yeah, thanks, Lydia. Hi, everyone. As a longtime participant in the APAD photography show, I'm happy to be finally doing one of these talks. So the focus of today's conversation, of course, is with the artist Albarrán Cabrera, and Ana and Angel and I have worked together for the last 8 years or so. We've done 4 exhibitions, including the current show, Windows to the Unexpected, which is the also title of their 8th monograph, which was recently released by Editorial RM. I'm going to kind of intro our working relationship for a little bit before I turn it over to Ana and Angel to discuss some of their series. And as mentioned, we will then have some Q&A towards the end of the conversation. So let me get this going. Hopefully everyone can see this okay. So as Lydia said, my name is Douglas Marshall. I run the gallery here in Los Angeles, focusing on heavily on experimental craftsmanship and photography. It has been kind of the basis of the gallery since we first started. The current exhibition is Windows to the Unexpected by Albarrán Cabrera, which they describe as a moment when photography reveals something that wasn't meant to be seen, a small moment when the world slips out of its routine and shows its strangeness, which on and on how I think can really sum up most of your work, all the way back to your earliest black and white work to the most recent polarized pieces, which we will go through in a chronological order in a bit. This is just a quick view of the gallery's exhibition, which is on view until March 14th. So if you are in Los Angeles anytime soon, please come visit. We've got about 24 works on view, primarily focused on the most recent work from their series, The Indestructible, which are their largest pieces to date, with pigment ink print photographs directly onto gold leaf, which is a really evolution of their process from their earliest black and white to these really kind of hyperchromatic pieces. I always look fondly at this photo of Ana and Angel and myself at Paris Photo in 2017. I remember sending it to my wife, then girlfriend, and she said, "It looks like you're on the Titanic." If for those of you who have been to the Grand Palais in Paris, it's a pretty magical place to get to know everyone in the photo world. And this is really when we kind of developed a close friendship and excitement about their work, though we had actually met a few months earlier at Photo London at Somerset House, and I was walking around the fair when I was working Sunday morning and kind of taking in the show for a bit, and I came across this small print kind of down in the discovery section that I just kind of stood there and stared at for a few minutes and ended up talking to Anna, who was there at the time. And as she explained to me that this print was not only a multi-process piece of work, being a cyanotype over platinum palladium, which I'd never seen before, but also multiple exposures that were intended to symbolize this moment between an imagined future and a remembered past, this fleeting moment that we call now or the present. And these ideas of philosophy and mindfulness coming through photography were something that really excited me to start to exhibit and talk about photographic work that was more than just observational, that it was really asking questions and discussing ideas around philosophy and physics and Eastern philosophies, and this kind of idea of using photography more as a conceptual tool of learning about the world, more so than purely objective observation. Um, so I very much came from a history of black and white street photography and documentary photography, but this new kind of direction that I felt like I saw in a lot of contemporary work was really exciting to me to be thinking about these bigger ideas. And for me as a gallerist, I really work very closely with the artist and really try to introduce them to other artists and to other people. That's why I'm very happy that they were joining us for this talk today. I remember a moment at Paris Photo introducing them to the great Finnish photographer Pentti Samalati, of whom we're both huge fans, and just having them in the same room looking at prints together and talking was a really magical moment for me. And really, this was actually before the gallery even started and was just kind of an idea at that moment. But I very much had this idea of focusing at this moment on artists who were heavily invested in printmaking craftsmanship, such as Anna and Angel and a predecessor like Pentti Samalati. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Anna and Angel to speak for a bit. I'm so happy that you guys could be here. This is kind of a rare sighting to have you in the virtual space. So if you haven't already, you can unmute yourselves, and I'll let you take it from there and tell us
Okay.
why photography.
Okay, so hi everyone,
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining.
and thank you for AIPAD for this opportunity. And thank you, Douglas. The introduction was so good that you can continue if you want. So no, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for being here, and thanks a lot to AIPAD for
For allowing us to talk a little bit about our practice, and because we are quite silent people. I mean, inside our dark room, we don't go out much and we don't talk much. So it's a way of talking a little bit about us and introducing us to
No, it's
people.
nice time to time also to explain what you are doing in the sense that you clarify also your ideas about what you are doing, because sometimes we are so enclosed in ourselves, thinking and reading and working on the lab, that we don't pay much attention about the external planet. So thank you very much for being here. So we will start just explaining why we are using photography and not another medium. I mean, not
No painters
No.
or sculpture.
or sculpture or any other way of expression. It's very related also to the way we enter in photography, because we were shooting and developing and from the very beginning, but we were not formal photographers in the sense that I'm computer engineer and mathematician.
And I study literature and language, so our idea was to follow other paths in life.
Yeah.
But since the very beginning, we have photography as a common thing in between us. I mean, we were from different cities. We met each other in the middle of we are from Spain, so in the middle of Spain, we met each other. And since that moment, we have been together. And one of the things that we have in common is our necessity to know. I mean, we wanted to know the things, we wanted to make questions. We were not so much interested in the answers, but why things are the way they are.
And we found in photography a way to learn about all these things. We were working not as a photographer, but we were working as computer engineer or teacher in her case. I mean, we were still just going to visit exhibitions and we were traveling because of photography, because we wanted to shoot this or see that or to produce this or something that we saw in an author, and we would like to understand why this author was doing that. So what was a tool to learn, a kind of excuse to explore the planet and to explore more things related to philosophy or painting or sculpture. And photography is perfect for this, just for learning, because it's the medium that in theory represents reality. I mean, it's true that when you shoot, you are like capturing the moment, and that's true. And when you reproduce this moment, you realize that it's not the moment that you capture. It's a representation of this moment. And this thing that has been a lot of people, they wrote a lot about different characteristics of photography. And this specific characteristic is very, very important. This so simple characteristic is what gives photography the power.
The power. I mean, in most of the arts, in painting or in the cinema, you have to create a scene. You have to create out of a white canvas. You have to create a whole world inside it. However, in photography, we already have the setup. We already have the world mounted for us. And what we have to do with the tools we have, I mean, with the camera, with the lenses, and later on in the darkroom with the type of technique you're going to use, the way you're going to develop your negative, you have to crop this reality and focus just on a part of that. So the moment we select a part of the reality, we are changing that reality. So that's one of the things that really made us fall in love with this medium.
Yeah, this constraint, let's say,
Sorry.
is no, it's okay. Let me hear. This constraint, let's say, is what's very, very interesting. And as a mathematician, for me, I think that mathematics and photography are very close to one thing, that is, with mathematics and photography, you can like see the seams of reality, just this border between the real and the unreal. And that's also, it has a big influence the way we work. So, I mean,
we are two, so a lot of people usually ask, how can two people work together? So one of us is shooting, the other one is developing the prints. So we always say that for us is the most natural thing is to be the two of us together. I mean, I find really, really difficult being just one person and taking so many decisions. So for me, all the rest of photographers are really brave, much braver than us, because we are two, so we can discuss, we can support each other. So in our case, depending on the place we go, we can carry 2 cameras, 3 cameras each, or just one camera. So we go to the same place, and each
Yeah.
of us go to a different part of something that attracts our attention.
At the end of the shooting, we mix all the files or roles, or we develop all the roles. We mix all them together. We let them sleep for time, and later we review the images together. And depending on what we are reading, what we are trying to understand, we see things on these roles or on these files that is interesting, and they start to discuss how to reproduce this image in the form of a print with a specific process. And then also inside the lab, we work together. I mean, sometimes I'm on the larger than Anna is with the trace or the reverse. And as I was saying, I mean, it's fantastic. It's like being, I mean, you work twice faster. It's great to work in the lab, to have more photos. So we didn't pay much attention to which one who was shooting one specific image or another.
I mean, we started at the beginning signing or try to remember who took that photo. Sometimes because of the negative, because I usually like Mamiya 72, and he prefers a size icon. So because of the size of the negative, I can distinguish who was
No, at the end we were sharing cameras. So I mean, has no sense. It's much easier for us to work together. We started as monochrome photographers. Because we started like as self-taught. I mean, we never go to a school.
Because we have different careers. I mean, photography was a secondary thing for us at the beginning. So instead of joining a school, we just started buying books. I mean, we love books. So there was another excuse to buy more books. So photography was a kind of, he was reading one book, I was reading another book, and then we were teaching each other what we have learned reading that book.
But because we needed this cycle, of learning and shooting and printing in monochrome was the fastest way at the beginning. The highlight was fantastic for us. I mean, was the perfect way of reproducing.
Yeah, I mean, we were, as I said at the beginning, we're from different cities. So I moved to, I mean, now we are based near Barcelona, not in Barcelona. So when I moved to Barcelona, so we went together in a flat. So the first thing we bought was everything for the darkroom.
Yeah.
So it was a draw machine for the negatives, was an enlarger. So we were learning and practicing at the same time.
Yeah.
So the first thing was the black and white.
Yeah.
After that, we started with the cyanotype. It's an easy process, then platinum, then carbon.
Yeah,
and then
the process started to grow, and that's why we started. That's the fantastic slide to explain that. That's the entrance of our dark room.
Yeah.
Because it's a dark place, so we call it the Bat Cave. And yeah, you can see several. I mean, it's a portion of book, mainly about technique, about art, and about photography. And inside our studio, sometimes people say, I would like to see your studio and see your photos." And we say, "Okay, you can visit us, but you will see no photos. You will see a lot of chemistry, the larger, the printers, a lot of paper, different kinds of strange things that we made, brushes. That is the area where we work. I mean, it's where we concentrate just to try to make a distillation of what we learn in one print. Is where and this kind of sorry.
No, I mean, this is our new studio because we have more houses, and it's always changing. I mean, because the more things that we try to learn, the new processes we try to use, so we need a new furniture, a new table, so it's always in constant evolution.
A lot of chemistry, and just to make this cycle. I mean, this kind of learning, selecting, printing, learning again, changing the learning, and creating new prints. What helped us a lot, because at the beginning we started with black and white. Later, some friends said, why did you don't start with platinum printing? It's very easy.
Yeah.
And we realized that one was not so easy. So we started with platinum print, with cyanotype, with Cibachrome, with C-print, all these kind of processes. And something that was very helpful was this idea in William Crawford book. It's a very old book that we bought long time ago. It's as old as it seems. And it's a book about alternative processes, but in the introduction, there's a nice way of explaining why technology is shaping photography. So it's what he calls the photographic syntax, and we really agree with the idea. Help us a lot to understand the way we are working. So this idea that technology in some way is shaping photography. At the beginning, we only had the glasses, the big cameras.
The big camera.
Yeah, the big camera and the speed of the emulsion was very slow. So the photographies were very related to this kind of restriction of technology. With technology, we have been going up and down. It looks like more time means more technology, more ways to reproduce one photo, but it's not true. I mean, we miss Cibachrome, we miss all the black and white papers that are not made anymore. We miss the see prints, papers that we don't have anymore. So it means that in some way we needed to create new combinations of all processes and new processes to do what we wanted to do, to expand this syntax.
Yeah,
in
so
photography.
our idea is that obviously photography is based on technology because we are not using brushes, we are using cameras that they come from out of technology, and the films come out of technology, or the digital cameras. And there is an industry that's dictating what we can use or we cannot use because they keep producing them or they stop producing them. So our rebellion, our way to rebel against that is that if you keep or stop doing something, we as a photographers, using all the chemistry that was in our hand and all the different books from the past, is to adapt and to create the new kind of technologies or to join different processes together in order to be able to produce prints that show what we really want to say.
Yeah.
So for us, all the processes in photography are all the medium, all the tools that we have as photographers to say a message.
Mhm.
I'm going to jump in for a second and add that as I've gotten to know you more and more over the last, decade, especially the time spent together recently in LA, I've always been amazed by the depth of your ability to speak deeply about so many different topics, from photography to science and philosophy. And I remember during the pandemic, you shared a lot of backstory behind all of your inspirations from cinema and literature. And I remember when you were in LA, you kept running into people who were cinematographers or
Right.
people from the
Yeah.
film industry. And, you would be able to talk about the most obscure cinema histories, or about somebody with calligraphy or ceramics. And so I know our friend asked, what's the thing that keeps you going and what that keeps you motivated in life and in art? And you had one simple answer, which was just learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it's very interesting being influenced by photography, painting, illustration, comics, whatever. But the most interesting part is not only the final work, but also to understand what's the original idea of this author. So, for example, what the original idea for one film, and how a director with a photographic director were able to create this film. So what's the path from an idea to a final comic or a final ceramics? What's the origin for this artist? That's very interesting because you can apply all these different paths also to you, and will let you to understand a lot of things about, about your reality, about the world that you didn't know before. So that's the most interesting part of all these things that interest us, and not only the final work, but also the path.
Process.
Yeah, and as you say, learning is, as time goes by, we stop being kids. And the nice things about kids is that they are surprised about everything. Why? Because everything is new for them. So if you are open to the world, what you want to know to do it is to learn, is to keep this kid that this child I was at the beginning, to keep it alive. So being surprised for everything. So if we give everything for granted and we don't ask, okay, there is a plane, but why a plane flies? So from that to the tiniest thing, why an ant is sleeping in winter but is alive in summer. Things are not really connected to photography, but just wanting to know everything. I think it's the best thing for us, and photography, because in my case we are lazy, is what keep us to come on. You have to keep on learning, because the more you know, the more things you will discover.
And just learning about this, being influenced by these authors, and also reading and learning within that your brain changes in some way, and this change modify also the way you see. So modifies also the photographs you take. That's
Yeah.
our way of working.
Well, and that childlike wonder must have really come through in your first trips to Japan, which obviously has a huge influence on your work and is present, is obvious to anyone who sees your books or your exhibitions. I wonder if you give us a quick look at your history with Japan and inspiration from Japan before we will then jump through a few of the series of your works.
So
I mean, we usually talk about the same thing that Octavio Paz. I mean, for us, I mean, this idea that Japan takes you out of your comfort zone and makes you realize that there are other ways of looking at the world. So that's why Japan is so important for us. It's not just the country per se, but it's the way so many things you discover while you are there, because everything is done in a different way from the way we are doing. So if we go around Europe, we are different, but in the end, in the core, we are the same. But going to Japan is totally
yeah,
different.
I'm always explaining the same anecdote that you go to Wikipedia and you look for something, I mean, philosophical, something deep, or something that is the base of knowledge. I mean, you ask, for example, about darkness. What is darkness? So you read Wikipedia in your language and you try to read it in another language, an European or American language, you will see a translation in the different language. But if you can't read it in Japanese, you will realize that it's not a translation, it's a totally different explanation. That's why it's so interesting for us, because it's like having two realities, our reality and the other reality, another way of seeing reality. So it's expanding your possibilities as an author.
And I guess this could also happen if you go to China or to India. I mean, Westerners and Easterners, we are different. The only thing is that we fall in love with Japan and we keep on, like, it's like our home. So it's our going back again, once and again to, I mean,
We love the culture. Well, at the beginning, we tried to learn Chinese, but the pronunciation was very difficult for us. So that's why we also go for learning Japanese. But a part of that, I mean, the culture, the aesthetics, the philosophy of the country was amazing for us.
and everything, how everything is organized from a web page. I mean, the different tabs they use, the different way of explaining things. For us, it's really, really useful because you keep on saying that 2 + 2 makes 4. And going to Japan, you discover, not to discover, but you realize that 2 + 1 + 1 makes also 4. It's not always the same thing. So it's discovering the same reality, but in a different way.
Yeah, from a different point of view. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's opens you, I mean, also to see things differently.
Great. So let's look at some work for a minute before we run out of time too soon. But I think one of the interesting things that I've always thought about your work and your process that's quite different from most artists. I think a lot of artists feel this necessity to sort of close the chapter on a body of work when they finish. They work on one project and then that project's done and it's exhibited and the book's published and they move on to the next. Not only have all of your books intermixed different projects, but all of the series that you're working on are essentially all open-ended. I mean, The Mouth of Krishna is kind of, I believe, your earliest body of work, which you still make images for, and then you might make images for The Indestructible, your most recent, but then also make new images for The Mouth of Krishna. So we'll kind of just quickly touch on these series, which are somewhat in chronological order, but as we were just saying, they are intermixed. But I wonder if you kind of can just give us quick looks at, how these different series are broken apart conceptually.
I mean, the idea of open series is because we will continue learning and we change our minds, and that's why in the same series we can, for us, other images can fit too later. I mean, And we started with the mouth of Krishna with this idea of the mouth of the god Krishna, where his mother sees everything. So really was a kind of explaining that everything is inside a small part of the universe, and there is a multiplicity and similarity between things. I mean, things that looks very similar are very different in code, but also things that looks very different are very similar. You look inside. And all this is related with our memory, and we started working on that, not trying to focus on something very specific, but try to understand this multiplicity with the mouth of Krishna.
It's kind of the concept of the universe in a grain of sand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I remember this is one of the earliest works that I saw of yours in color, which, as I understood it, you started in platinum and silver, but you were trying to find a color process that had the warmth and texture of, the kind of soul of darkroom papers and analog processes, where most color contemporary processes tend to have a sort of artificial or kind of plasticky sort of feel to them. We've seen in recent history a development of more toothy and textural uncoated papers in the photography world. But at that time, 10, 15 years ago, it was quite rare, I feel like. And so I think that's what led to this development of your using this, I believe, calligraphy paper, the Japanese gampi, which has this just wonderful texture and comes in different weights, but you obviously use a very thin, extremely thin, I always refer to it as onion skin, um, over the gold leaf to get this kind of iridescent quality to the work. Can you tell us a little bit about how you arrived at that process, as it's so synonymous with your work now?
Yeah, so what's one of the one another process that we developed, and we found the idea in Japan, but we were in a museum just seeing the painting on silk, and under the silk they put the gold, and we realized that the gold was very subtle. You realize that there was something, expelling light in some way, and the chromacity was spectacular.
Yeah, because I mean, you have to. If we were in a museum, and there was just tiny light. I mean, it was not a really high.
Bright
The
lights.
source of light was
Yeah.
really dim.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was touching. This light was touching the panel, and there was a reflection because of the gold on the wall, and it was what's going on in here. Because we couldn't at the beginning we couldn't understand what was going where that light where it was coming from.
Was very chromatic, and at the same time very matte, very subtle. And we wanted, we always use, I mean, different processes to modify this reality. With cyanide, for example, the reality became blue. So we wanted to change the reality with colors, but and we realized that the gold is modifying the colors the way we are showing it, because I mean, the yellow of the gold and the brightness of the gold is modifying the blues in greens, like in the photo. The reds are much more intense. There is no whites. So in the photos that we reproduce in color, there are no whites. The whites are yellow.
Yellowish.
But it is amazing how you try to fit this with reality in some way. You try to imagine this escape in reality, but I mean, it's impossible in the sense that it's not the real one, but is 100 reproduced by photography. So that was very interesting for us.
And as we told you at the beginning, that we love restrictions. So when we wanted to translate that Japanese panel into photography, we say, okay, what can we use to put on top of the gold leaf, so you cannot see the gold leaf, but it's still connected to photography. So at that time, because we started as monogram artists, we were using Gampi paper for our platinum palladium print. So why don't we use this same paper, but now on top of the gold, and then we print on top of it.
Yeah.
And that's when everything came together, because at the beginning we were looking for silk, but we said silk is a little bit out of the photographic world, so we always get to that. So that's why we came into the, and it was an adventure.
It was a kind of evolution, little by little, and we arrived to that.
So I remember the Krishna series is sort of this larger overarching body of work that is definitely the largest project you've been producing work for, and was, at least I think for most of us, the first that we saw of your work. And then you have these kind of other portfolios that are a little more kind of focused. So starting with This Is You and the subsequent This Is You Here. Can you explain this process a little bit, as this is your only body of work, I believe, that features human figures?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, we started with the month of Krishna, and as we continue, we leave it open. Suddenly, we were talking about this multiplicity and the idea of memory. We started to shoot people and said, we think that we have to create a kind of spin-off, a kind of different series.
Yeah, we realized that with memory you understand multiplicity, the similarity in the universe, so all this stuff. But also, thanks to memory, you have an identity. You are you. So we try to link this idea of memory not only to understand the world, but also to understand you. And some friend found two photos in some negatives on the garbage, and we developed the negatives and were underexposed. So it was impossible to see the faces of the people. And then we thought, why
can we recreate
that and try to recreate a kind of family or
fictional
photography of people that you, a photographer, amateur photography, trying to shoot people, and in some way you cannot see the face, so you can identify yourself with the model. So we started at the beginning with friends. Was very funny.
Yeah, because I mean, everything was, don't worry, because I need you for a portrait, but your face won't be shown in the images. We were like, okay, so it's a portrait, but no, don't worry about that. So nobody will be able to see your face. Okay, so that was an easy way to
this portfolio this series is very interesting, related to the way we work, evolving the series, because we started as This Is You, with the idea of, identity and memory, and we realized that depending on the place where we were shooting, the environment was an enormous influence of the kind of identification of the person in front of the portrait. And then we realized, okay, that's a new data, a new idea. So let's expand the series to This Is You Here. And we changed the statement too. So doesn't matter. The statement is evolving the same way we are evolving. So it's a good example of how we work.
So, we wanted to say the same way a person identifies himself or herself, depending on the memories, you also identify places, or you think you identify a place based on your memories. And it was a really nice article with of a person saying that places, locations changing into place, the moment you give to this location a story, this location has a history and becomes a place. And it's important, it forms part of our history or common culture. So that's why we're changing into This Is You Here. So the here is as important as the people portrayed in the places. From that, we change into carols, and the carols came from, in my former job, I have a colleague, and she told me once, Anna, I'm really fed up of postponing myself. And I said, yes, I'm always thinking about all the things I did wrong in the past. And she said, I'm postponing everything for the future. And we don't live the only moment that really exists, that is the present. And we said, why don't we start thinking about that?
But realize that thinking about the past and thinking about the future,
I mean,
gives you a reality that is not, I mean, is a strange reality that is totally surrealistic. And we wanted to express that on photography. So we start shooting different, I mean,
the same
the
place.
same place, more or less, but two shoots at different moments. And then we divide the photo. Sometimes it's visible, the division is visible, sometimes not. And just representing two images, the past and the future, at the same time, so is what we are doing, you realize that the resulting image is totally surrealistic. The way, and it's the way we are living. I mean, thinking about what we did in the past and we want to do in the future that it still doesn't exist.
And then in some, I mean, usually at the beginning, we even delete part of the this Gampi paper is taken out of the print to say that the present, I mean, as we don't live in the present, we took it away. So this line in between the two times is the present.
So in the photo, the only thing that is real is the line in the middle. The other two are things that you are thinking, but the reality is just in the line in the middle. That's that.
I've always liked the subtle touch that the line is never just like a really sharp straight line. It's always sort of fluid between the two images, the past and the present. There's kind of this blending between them that you see where they just kind of barely touch each other.
Sometimes it's very visible, sometimes it's very subtle, but you don't see a straight line on the middle.
From that, we changed. I mean, we were egocentric. I mean, we are always thinking about ourselves, about people, and said we were on a train. I was reading this book, and she says wonderful things. And one of the things is that why are we thinking about the memories of people? Why don't we think or talk about the earth as an entity that has also memories? And that's why we started with the Nix.
The memories of the earth that are stored in the strata.
In the strata.
Is giving us the tips about what happened in our planet, and is what we wanted to show here.
And then getting to, I mean, we also saw a lot of kind of irregular angles of view, a lot of inverted views, inverted colors. We really started to see the images kind of seeing the earth from these sort of strange vantage points, which are, always kind of causing a bit of confusion for people in a good way. There's this kind of mystery. The image is both recognizable, but also, elusive at the same time. So that brings us to the most recent bodies of work, The Indestructible, which is kind of the heavy focus of the current exhibition, and to the optics work. What can you tell us about this most recent series, other than we now have seen your largest work to date?
I mean, The Indestructible came from a text that a friend, Federico Ferrari, that is also a teacher and a philosopher, give to us. So what's a gift? He said, I give you this text, do whatever you want with this text. It's in our website, so want to read it. And the idea was to create a series about this text, where he is explaining, is a kind of 10 or 11. I mean, it's in form of aphorism, trying to explain that there is one thing that join us, that make us different, but at the same time is join us. That's the indestructible. So better that I explain it, it's better that you read it, but it's this kind of abstract, not entity, but kind of abstract things that join us and is invisible and at the same time make us different.
Yeah, I recommend anyone who really wants to get kind of in-depth reading on the individual bodies of work. If you visit their website and go to a series, you'll see a little plus icon, and there's quite in-depth artist statements with background and quotes. So that then brings us to your first body of work that is um, completely studio based, not from photographs made in the field.
No.
The series, the kind of larger departure of optics, and this first portfolio of polarized images. So when people, we have a small section of the exhibition where some of these pieces are displayed, and people are always asking, "Wait, is this the same artist? Is this the same person?" You can tell the connection mostly through the process, the similar printing processes, but obviously the subject matter is quite different. So can you kind of give us a little background on this departure?
Yeah, so optics is a kind of experimentation with photography, and we wanted to shoot in the case of polarized, we wanted to shoot not something that has a color. We wanted to shoot light directly. So that's why we started to shoot these pieces, pieces of plastic
Yeah.
that are between two polarized filters. So you can see how light is diverging and changing to a different frequency. It's very interesting because we're shooting is, I mean, is plastic. What you are seeing here is this. But thanks to photography, thanks to a polarized filter, you can see the colors that you cannot see directly with your eye. So it's this conceptual part that interests us a lot. So the idea is to continue investigating with optics and make more photos, not only polarized, but much more things that polarize.
So I'd been watching this portfolio develop over the last few years and always just was stunned by the imagery as everyone is, and it could kind of grasp the idea, but until you shared this video with me, sort of showing it in progress, I really couldn't quite grasp it. And this really kind of blew my mind when you showed this to me recently. Can you show us again what we're seeing here?
Yeah, you are seeing that
Yeah.
a piece of plastic moving
With a sellotape on
with a
top.
serotype on top. And the colors are pure light that is diverging in a different frequency because of the polarized light. So under this plastic, there is a powerful light, but the polarized filter, the two polarized filter are rotated, so you cannot see. The black is because the light is null, is cut, but the light that is traversing the plastic is moving in different frequencies in different directions, and you see these change of colors. So the object is transparent, has no color. It's only the light that is moving in a different direction that gives you the color. So there are no pigments there.
So let me see if I can translate this for a bit or for my own self. And we're almost done with our presentation. So if you have questions, which I'm sure there will be, please leave them in the chats, and we'll jump to that here in a second. But you explained it to me that you had constructed this box that one side is a wall of LED lights, one side is the camera. In front of either of those or both of those are polarized filters, horizontal, vertical polarized filters. So when you look at it with your eyes, you see this intense light, but when you look through the camera, you see just pure black.
Yeah.
And so then when you introduce this object, this plastic, these special materials into this space, the camera is not actually picking up the object itself, it's just picking up the changes of
Light.
No light.
light.
Yeah.
The modifiers on the directions and frequency of light.
I just can't stop watching this.
So
So
that's why one area has not a specific color. It depends on the angle, and it
yeah.
depends on the different position. So that's why.
And you can, because it's transparent in the end, that's why you can see the whole thing.
Well, I think we're all excited to see where that goes in the future. You've also been extremely busy on the publishing front. You've just published your eighth monograph. Some of these are still available out there. Many of them are hard to find. I want to move on to our questions, but I know you take the book projects quite seriously. They're all very kind of almost conceptual projects in there. Each one,
Yeah.
has a real theme and way that it's designed. It's never just like, oh, this body of work is that book, this body of work is that book.
No. They are not representing the series. So
Yeah.
sometimes we are using one series or different series, but the book per se is an entire project. That's the idea.
We are really, really, grateful for now in here there are 4 different publishers that really trust in us, and they really produce the books for us. So it was amazing because they have allowed us to work with the designer. So we perform an idea, a kind of a structure of the book, and usually, the designer make it much bigger, much better. And then we create this project. But it's not that we are shooting for this book. It's that we have already thought of an idea, a concept, and out of usually there is a text, and around that text we create the images, and then we tell the designer, and then they put it in order. And then
Okay, and wrapping up, yeah.
So the future is
That's
to continue learning, continue exploring, continue enjoying photography, and very happy and very grateful to make a living just with photography. It was a tough decision, a hard decision to leave
our previous jobs.
But we are incredibly happy just learning and enjoying every day and seeing the world in a different way.
We always say that we are very selfish because we do what we really love, and so we are really appreciate that people can follow us. And
yeah, we really appreciate the love of the people and how they like the work. We are very grateful.
And the hard work of the galleries to support us.
It's a mutual. No, that's why I was happy to end with this recent photo from our home national park here, Joshua Tree, outside of LA. Photo made just a few weeks ago during your visit for
it was magical.
Yeah.
It was magical.
Yeah, it's a special place.
After visiting LA, we understand why the phenomenon movement in the 70s and 80s was there, because the light is amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. I'm going to exit out of here and we'll see if we can open it up to people for a bit. I'm going to try and jump in for a bit and see. Let's see. Carolina, you asked, thanks. One technical question, and what kind of printer do you print on the Gampi paper? Of course, the technical questions, I don't know how much you want to reveal of these materials, but
we are using, we're using two, mainly one, that is the HP. And it's HP because I was working at HP and as color engineer. And I know very well this printer because I wrote part of the algorithms of this printer. And that's why I can tweak it directly. Because I can go to the firmware and change the way the printer is printing. So it's a very old printer.
Yeah,
but it's still working. So and we also use Epson for digital negatives. We don't care much about. We have a lot. We have two printers and we have a lot of cameras. But the gear is much more interesting for us as gear. We love cameras, for example. But we don't see that one camera in particular gives you something that another camera cannot give you. So we don't pay much attention. It was more a practical question.
Another question was, it's kind of a question for me, I suppose. Are you bringing the work to the photography show in New York in April? Yes, we will have a few pieces, new pieces from the Polarized series and from the Indestructible series for the photography show in April. So for those of you who will be in New York, you'll get to see it there. Someone asked, what was the book that you showed that influenced the Nyx series?
Yeah.
It's this one. It's by Janet Winterston. It's called Weight.
It's a kind of weight.
Is it the myth of Atlas and Heracles?
Heracles, yeah. So it's a kind of
It's a recollection. It's
a classical story,
but she has
from a different point of view. So the idea is that this author is explaining the story of Atlas in a different way. A lot that is weight. I mean, it's supporting
The weight of
the weight of the
yeah.
Atlas. Okay, yeah. Thank you. When do you know that a print is finished since you're working in such experimental processes?
Sometimes even we print
the same
same image
in three different
in
processes.
three different processes.
Right.
Sometimes it's very easy. It's like we feel it. Sometimes it's very difficult. Sometimes the different prints in different processes is leaping for years.
Yeah.
And suddenly we say, we did that.
Yeah.
Oh, we did that. And we need to go to the notes because we don't remember
How we did it.
how we did it. And I mean, it's not easy, but it's like a feeling in your gut that you just it's okay. I think it's finished, and not only the process, also the size.
The size.
So-
So
One question that I thought was interesting is how do you ensure that the chemistry in all of your experience is safe for you to work with? Is you working with carbon and silver?
Difficult to. For example, we started working with carbon a long time ago,
with
but the oxidizer, everybody who works in carbon know that the oxidizer is carcinogen and it's very toxic, and we stopped working on carbon for
a
that
long
reason
time.
for a long time. But
Yeah.
now there's a new substance that is DAS, that is DAAs. I will not say the entire name because it's impossible, but I mean, it's something that in theory is less toxic.
But I don't think so.
But we try to do not use toxic substances because we spend a lot of time on the
Yeah.
Batcave, and we would like to continue doing photos for a long time. So that's why we stopped carbon. But now we are doing carbon again.
But in any case,
Thanks to
we
that.
try to wear always gloves or
Yeah.
mask or
Mask,
glasses.
ventilation on the dark room. I mean, these kind of things.
I mean, there is always a risk. So
Yeah.
the only thing is that all the Amsterdam books that we bought at the beginning says, please never drink what you have in your dark rooms. So, okay.
Amazing.
Right.
How do you decide to work between these several ongoing projects? Do you set aside time for a theme? Do you say, okay, today we're in Kyoto, we're going to focus on Kairos? Or are you just paying attention to the world?
No, we shoot. We learn. But our ideas, our brain changes.
But we hope so.
With age,
Yeah,
not much. And then we go shooting and relax and try to shoot. Later, we recover all these images and start to look at them. And then some image suddenly reveals something that is very important from one series. And then you make the match, you try to print it in a process or another process, and then you put it on this series. And it's the way we work. Sometimes it's very fast, sometimes it's very slow. Even where I'm finding images that we started to shoot when we were even not married, so a long time ago. So imagine. And sometimes it's as fast as going back from a trip and it's the image and you see it.
On some other times, I remember once visiting a museum in Japan, and we were really shocked with the exhibition. And it was, I want to do something in photography related to, it was a huge influence. So that, I mean, it could be learning or just because we see something and then we wanted to do that in photography.
It's a little bit like chaotic, but at the same time it appears. And it's very easy for us to follow the path of working because we don't need to focus on something specifically. It's much more let us
flow.
Relax and flow. And
Yeah, it was great. It was great finally being in Joshua Tree with you and watching you work, like actually seeing how you work and how you both kind of wander off in different places. And yeah, I just think it's a really interesting. And then talking about how letting the images sleep for several months afterwards, which I know a lot of photographers do. One last question was about printing on the gold leaf. That are you printing directly on the gold leaf? And that's true only right on the most recent series, the Indestructible, which must have taken you years and lots of frustration to print directly onto the gold leaf. I explain that to people when they're here at the gallery or at the AIPAD show. And, people who have ever worked with gold leaf are always just like, wow, that must have been brutal to learn because it's such a difficult material to work with.
Yeah, it's difficult and difficult. Just when you glue the gold, I mean, manually is difficult, but also we spend a lot of time just creating emulsions to put on top of the gold to let, I mean, not only pigments, but also a cyanotype or a platinum palladium print to lean on the surface of the gold because it's a metal.
Yeah.
So sometimes the answer are a combination of all techniques. We feel very lucky in the sense that at the beginning we started to buy a lot of books about chemistry, about technology on photography that right now are not available or it's difficult to find them.
Because at the beginning there were books, there were a lot of web pages with people sharing
Information.
alternative processes, and most of them had disappeared.
Yeah.
So the only thing is that we really love books and we bought them. If we hadn't done it, now you have to remember all the things that you read.
It's very funny for us that now silver halide or toning a
silver halide.
Silver halide with chemistry is alternative. We say okay.
Well, I think now you are at a place where you are going to have to be the ones to write the books.
Sorry?
I think you will be the ones writing the next books because you
No.
have spent so much time. Well, you're saying all these material, these lessons and these texts are hard to find, and well, now for the last few decades, you've really been pioneering a lot of new combinations of printing practices and keeping that knowledge alive. So I think you're going to have to publish these books.
Well, okay. Let's see.
Let's see.
Let's see.
Yeah,
All right, guys.
The first shooting, I'm not right.
Well, thank you. Thanks for all the time. We'll try and wrap it up here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and for your questions. Like I said, if you're in Los Angeles, please stop by in the next month and you can see the exhibition here, or you can visit us at the AIPAD Photography Show at the end of April and see the work there as well. And Anna and Angel, thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you to you. Thank you to AIPAD, and also thank you everyone for being here and your support. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
It's a pleasure for us.
Okay, everyone. Have a good day. Thank you.